Hello everybody, welcome to this tap room where it's not going to be particularly oriented towards VMware, as you might think from the naming. Uh, it's going to be oriented uh, towards some backup rules and the comparison of 2 and 3 node hyperconverged scenarios. Uh, yep, and there's another thing I would like to say just before we start, is that usually the webinars we have before, they last for long, and previous hosts like talking a lot and providing you with awesome amount of the information, which sometimes, gets boring. So I decided to make the, informational part a bit smaller and spend more time and pay more attention to your questions. And I will do my best to answer them all and to answer them the best I can. And the last question before we start, could you please type in the question box whether you can see me, not see me, whether you can hear me and see the screen right. Okay, thank you very much for the feedback. So let's keep going. I believe this is something you all seen, so we can simply pass this and go straight to me. My name is Oldis Boris. I'm a senior solutions engineer at StarWind Software Incorporated. Uh, there's not much I can tell about myself. I just like my job and I love to have the opportunity to speak to you guys and discuss some interesting things and explain something to you and, just like what I'm doing. So let's continue. And this is a quick overview of our today's topics. So the first one is a comparison of a three-way active-active replication and a two-way active-active replication. This is where this is what we are mainly going to talk about today. And then the second part is going to be a bit about backups. I'll explain you the 3-2-1 backup rule that we have here. Uh, those numbers actually make sense, and you'll get that. And the last topic that I count as a main one during this webinar, and if you will provide me with a good feedback after this webinar, then possibly for future webinars is questions and answers that, and I'm going to do my best to pay attention to them and provide you with answers to your questions. So the first thing I would like to talk about, speaking of why three-way synchronous, active-active or synchronous, uh, those are the same, mirroring better than two-way, is cost efficiency. Uh, Because when you're setting up a cluster, you will need a storage redundancy. You would most definitely, and the way we recommend the way we recommend configuring storage in two-node hyperconverged is to use RAID 10. So when you are building up a two-way synchronous replication, imagine you use RAID 10, which is taking into account like storage by half, and then making when you set up the HA, so basically mirror your storage again, it takes another half, and then in the end, the utilization of your storage capacity is equal to 25%, which is extremely low. And in my opinion, that is not very cost efficient. And the next slide will tell us like the other side of it, which is you can go with RAID 5 or 6, but they are not really recommended by StarWind because RAID 5 has the issue when a disk falls out, it needs to do a rebuild. That rebuild takes a very long time, and RAID 5 is unfortunately not available, not able to work during that rebuild procedure, which is not so good when you have your production up and running on the system. And then the other alternative is RAID 6. And RAID 6, if one drive falls out, it continues working, but the downside of it is low write performance, and write performance is pretty important, especially if we speak about like SQL servers or maybe uh, web servers or mail servers. Almost anything needs writes. Some of them need more writes, some of them need less writes, but everyone do need writes. Therefore, RAID 6 is also not the best choice. And then over here, we see the end of cost efficiency topic, which actually explains why it is cost efficient. So as we remember, in a two-way synchronous replication, we are using RAID 10 for the storage redundancy and, another like additional node redundancy, so one node can go down and everything will still continue working. And in three-way synchronous mirroring, since the redundancy is provided by the amount of nodes, we recommend using either JBOD if you have one, or a RAID 0 for performance. And synchronous mirroring between three storage nodes result into 33% of usable capacity, which provides you with a better utilization comparing to two-node synchronous mirroring. And this is basically the cost efficiency part, and I honestly like setting up a three-way synchronous mirroring with RAID 0 much better than going a two-way replication with RAID 5 or 6, because like this is the only way we can get the same usable capacity, but we lose a lot of performance, and performance is important for business because if your business goes slow, there is a possibility to lose it, or there is a possibility to gain money slowly, or lose some customers or something. And nobody likes it when it goes slow, so this three-way mirroring with RAID 0 will provide you with outstanding performance. Also, like going a bit further and away from our today's topic, if you want to make it even faster, you can use StarWind server-side caching, let's say level 1 caching, which uses random access memory. You might have noticed when you configured RAID arrays, there is an option to go write through or write back cache. Well, to use write through or write back cache and assign it to your physical RAID array. The same thing basically StarWind can apply to its virtual storage, and you can basically take the random access memory that is located on your sandbox, and then that random access memory will be assigned to your high availability device, which will provide it with a read and write performance boost in case if you configure it in a write back mode, and extremely read performance boost in case if you configure it in write through, although we recommend keeping the setting at write back for level 1 caching and having write through configured on level 2 caching, which uses solid state drives. So yeah, let's keep on going through the presentation. So Next slide tells us about the result. Basically, the result I've already told is that as a result, three-way synchronous mirroring increases storage utilization and actually provides you with outstanding performance and almost the same redundancy. And in case if you are afraid going RAID 0, uh, this is why I decided to talk about backup rules here as well, because some people might think that going with RAID 0 will not provide you with the redundancy that is required for production environment or for any production environment. And here comes the 3-2-1 backup rule. The first three actually means that you should always have a 3 copies of data in three. I mean, you should keep your data somewhere in 3 different formats. So one of them can be stored like in one format, the other one can be stored on like virtual tape library, and third one can be stored, I don't know, on somewhere else. So basically keeping your data in 3 different formats will provide you with a better redundancy, but that's not the end. We have a 2 in a follow-up, and that 2 means that we recommend keeping at least 2 active copies of your data, which a two-way synchronous mirroring will provide you with, and 3-way synchronous mirroring will provide you even more than that. And then the last one we have in that 3-2-1 backup rule is a disaster recovery site, which is made in StarWind by a feature called a synchronous replication. And a synchronous replication we recommend configuring. So you have your live system. Let's say you have a 3-way mirroring and you have that all configured in RAID 0. And usually disaster recovery is made to recover from some natural disasters or anything else. For example, your server room gets broken, or for some reason, like a tornado comes into your office, or anything else that can physically or like not physically, virtually, maybe some cool sneaky hackers decide to hack your office and then they get it successfully done and you lose all your data. Even having RAID 0, when each copy of your 3-way mirroring was corrupted, you will anyway lose the data. And then let's imagine for some reason you lost your first part of the rule, which makes you keep data in 3 different formats. So all the data was lost somewhere as well. And then you have this asynchronous replication, which we recommend setting up in the other city, country, or even better if you could set it up on the other continent. So as far away as you can go from your server room to that asynchronous replication, the better it will work for you. And then, in case if a disaster happens on your main site, you can always pull up all your production on the other site and start running your business again and have your old data there. And basically, that is everything I wanted to tell you. And the last thing I want to go through is questions and answers. I want you to ask me as many questions as you have, and I will do my very best to provide you with answers. What if you're, David asked a question, what if you use a ZFS format with dedupe, will it still work? David, it doesn't really matter which format you use as long as they are 3 different formats. just need to keep that data in 3 different formats, having like separated from each other to make sure nothing happens to it at all. You are always welcome. Is there anyone else who would like to ask me something? Do you recommend RAID 0 for better performance? That is a tricky question because you do not provide me with a background to that question. Really depends on how many nodes are you planning to use for that RAID 0. If you want to go for a 2-node RAID 0 configuration, I would say you shouldn't do that, because in case if you lose a drive and then accidentally lose your second node, which will be the partner of the one which lost the drive, your old data will get lost, which is very bad. Therefore, using RAID 0 for better performance, I would do that setup only in a 3-way replication. And if you meant three-way replication in your question, then the answer will be yes. Also, while we're waiting for the questions, well, while I'm waiting for the questions, there is one thing I would like to let me know. Just, tell somebody. I'll show you the contacts on last slide, or yeah, just say that somewhere if whether you like this type of webinars more than the long ones, the one that give you tons of information and so on, because the way I like to get information is I want to get a bit of information and then ask as many questions as I have regarding that bit of information to understand it completely, and then move on to the other webinar top room where I will speak about something else. And yeah, just let me know whether you like these or the other webinars. Well, what is the difference between StarWind Virtual SAN and VMware vSAN? So the main difference between us, the first one is that VMware with vSAN works only with VMware, and StarWind can work with Hyper-V and VMware. Also, StarWind can work with Xen. And then the other difference, StarWind requires minimum of 2 nodes, and as far as I remember, VMware requires minimum of 3 nodes because they need a witness node. Also, VMware should not provide you with cost efficiency because that their solution, the VMware vSAN, it's pretty expensive in my opinion, and I would say that is it, and to me that's enough. How do the Dell 2-node appliances provide HA if one server falls? John, unfortunately, I'm not sure what exactly are you asking me about? Because I'm not sure what is Dell to Node appliance. Therefore, if you could make your question clearer or like rephrase it, I would I would appreciate that. Could you advise if StarWind can be used for VDI solutions? If yes, how would you size a solution for 250 users with scalability in mind? I'm not sure I understand the question about the sizing, although StarWind can be used for VDI solutions as well as there it, it is possible to run over 250 users with scalability in mind because StarWind is extremely easy to scale up or scale out. Both of those can be done simply on a fly, which would not require any of your production to go down. Or, well, in terms of StarWind configuration, of course, if you need to add in a physical hard drive, you would have to probably disable your RAID, for example. But in terms of StarWind, it does not require any downtime for any scale up or scale out. Also, the other thing about 250 users, you said, well, the best we got out of StarWind is 2 million IOPS, which I believe will easily support around, 100,000 users. So even more than that, I counted in case if like one user, in case if each user will eat up 200,000 IOPS, which is nearly impossible. So yeah, StarWind can support much more than that. All others, like all other questions you gotta go for is your like system architecture. Would the system be available to host so many users? Uh, Here's a great question. How can I get an evaluation copy of your product to try out? On the next slide, after questions and answers, I will have all the contacts like on your screen. Also, you can go at www.starwind.com and press a huge button which says get a trial key and yeah, download. So that's pretty straightforward procedure. And in case if you don't want to pick it up from the website, you can contact our account managers, and contacts for them will be on the next slide. Can we get a copy of these slides? Unfortunately, the presentation won't be available, but like tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, this video will be uploaded to our website. So in case if you want to watch it again, you will be able to do so. John, are you uh, are you asking about StarWind hyper-converged platform? And AJ, could you provide any reference architectures for a 250 user VDI infrastructure? Yes, I could if I would have the like program setup that those users will use in their VDI, and I would have to know, like, your networking, your budget, so on and so on. And on the next slide again, we'll have contacts. We'll have our account manager contacts. You can contact them, you can ask them that question, and they will, I think the way they will do it is they will arrange a remote session where our where our engineer will gladly ask you the questions I just did, and then having the answers to them will provide you with a reference architecture or architectures. Uh, Nice name. SS asked a good question. What happens during power loss when all three nodes lose power? Is there downtime required to resync the nodes after the power is back on? Is this different than two-node setup? No, in case of a power outage, there are no difference between a two-node and three-node setup in StarWind, and this is how it's done. So in case of a power outage, it's pretty straightforward because all three nodes were uh, like shut it down simultaneously. Therefore, you boot up any of those three. The first node will become a master and will start serving your production VMs with storage. After that, second and third node will be booted up and the synchronization will automatically start. And no, it will not require any downtime. The synchronization will be available to run with your production simultaneously. Is there a limitation on the number of nodes using StarWind software? That depends on what do you mean. If you mean a active replication, if you mean a synchronous mirroring, so StarWind can mirror one device 3 times at max, but you can go scale out, which means add in fourth node, fifth node, sixth node, and then mirror devices by 3 across all of them, and a limitation for scale out nodes is 64. So yes, there is a limitation and it is equal to 64. Can StarWind support VMware fault-tolerant VMs, and what is the limitations? StarWind provides storage to a VM, and anything which happens to that VM on top doesn't really do any change to StarWind. Therefore, there are no limitation, and yes, it is possible, but I would say that setting up a full tolerance in VMware, also having StarWind on this system, will be insufficient resource usage because by having 2 or 3 nodes of StarWind, which makes your production redundant, uh, well, there's no need for fault tolerance for fault tolerant VMs. In case of a failure, they will automatically anyway migrate to the other host. Yes, they will be rebooted for 1 or 2 minutes, but the resources that you have to waste on those VMs in order to save a couple of minutes are usually very high. But in case if you have a business which requires 100% uptime, and in case if one VM gets down for like 2 minutes, you can lose a couple millions, then you sure should go for fault tolerance. Okay, I do not see any more questions coming in. No, there is the last one. Could you help me compare StarWind against EMC VSP Blue? I would actually recommend you sending that request to our account managers that you will see on the next slide, and they will definitely compare it to you, because I wouldn't want to do that on the webinar. I hope you understand the reason for that. I'm sorry for that. So we go to the last slide, where I want to thank you all for coming. And there is not going to be a copy of the slides, but there will be this video uploaded to our website. In the resource library, you will be able to find this video tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. So at this slide, I want to thank you a lot for coming here. I really like speaking to you guys, and I really like answering your questions. In case if you need to contact our sales, you have all the contacts right in front of you. Do not hesitate to call them for any reason, ask for any questions, and get as much information as you need. And I wish you a great evening, and yeah, bye bye. Talk to you later, guys.